What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So let's chop it up about Aaron Rodgers. We know after we ended up trading for him just prior to the 2023 NFL draft, getting everything solidified. We didn't have the reworked contract and all of that done yet, but apparently there's a pretty routine practice among the NFL in recent years that the New York Jets may have fumbled on, and this kind of seems like a no-brainer looking at it. And you don't need a ton of experience in the industry or anything to kind of figure out that the Jets made a huge mistake here. So the situation is that there is a policy out there called temporary total disability. It's an insurance policy. Basically, this helps teams recoup significant portions of a player's guaranteed salary if they sustain a season-ending injury, such as the ACL injury that Aaron Rodgers suffered through. This is a problem, and I'm not sure on the finer details of this whole thing, but we know that with Aaron Rodgers' restructured contract and what they negotiated, he took a huge hit in terms of the money that he could have made to help the New York Jets out when it came to potentially making some moves at the trade deadline here. But we potentially could have saved even more, right? So with this policy, this would have, knowing what we know now, we would have been able to go out there and recoup some money here. Now, per Sportico is a digital content platform. They cover pretty much all things in the sports industry. The New York Jets actually declined multiple offers from insurance companies when it came to giving them a policy that would cover Aaron Rodgers, which is a little bit unusual, high level wise. With insurance, the younger you are, the cheaper it is. The older you are, and then of course, depending on activities, those prices can skyrocket. The more it's going to cost you. So we're talking about the NFL, right? Numbers are always going to be much crazier, but it looks like the policies that were offered would have ranged somewhere between costing the Jets $1 million to $4 million, and what that would have done is, I believe it said one of the policies would have covered us as high as 60% of the $37 million that he was owed this year, which basically means if this gets applied back to cap space, and this is where I'm unsure how things work. I don't know if it goes back to the cap. I don't know if this is just money back in the owner's pockets. All of that is, rich people problems that I can't afford to think about. But let's say it does go back to the cap. Now you're talking about having an additional $20 million to add to the war chest at the trade deadline. Makes a move like La'el Collins much easier, which doesn't require draft picks. And if you do want to take on a big contract, potentially look at trading your first round draft pick, or even if you want kind of that mid above tier player and you go with your third round pick, since we don't have our second anymore, you're still talking about potentially a significantly sized contract, and we'd be able to take all of that on with money to spare, and with some of the rash of injuries that we've had, that definitely would be helpful. So that one is a pretty tough blow. Now, for what it's worth, what I've seen is apparently this has been a common practice for the Jets in terms of declining these temporary total disability policies. Sportico checked out some stuff. They seem legit. I don't know what kind of insider information they're getting when it comes to the Jets and how reliable all of that is. But considering that we haven't seen any significant jumps in our cap space, and we haven't heard any other moves surrounding that, I think it would be safe to say that whether it was offered, whether they just never chose to pursue that route, it definitely never happened, and it's putting us in a little bit of an interesting situation. You would think it would be a no-brainer. Again, trade deadline coming up. We have 2 weeks to really kind of sit on things and figure out how we want to try to progress this roster. But 15 to 20 million extra dollars never hurts anybody, right? And it would put us smack dab right at the top tier of teams that have wiggle room to do whatever. And again, you're talking about a 39 hitting 40-year-old quarterback playing one of the most dangerous sports in the world, one that has a pretty high injury rate, I would say, compared to other sports. And just the physicality, right? The practices, all of the travel and flight stuff that comes on, things that guys are doing outside of facilities to continue to prep themselves and keep themselves healthy, it just kind of seems like a no-brainer. I know $1 to $4 million is a drop in the bucket to owners. Still a significant chunk of change, but this just feels like one of those things that you don't take chances on, right? Nobody would have ever predicted this, but for a guy that's essentially your pseudo franchise player for whatever duration of time he's going to spend with our franchise, it would only make sense. We'll see if they go that route again. I'm not sure if they can do this, on a yearly basis or how it works, but the two pieces that confused me the most was the fact that if we did get the offers, we declined them all, and if we didn't, that we never pursued it. But the second piece would be that if this is a common practice for them, that could raise some flags for us, right? That means that some of our young star players and stuff, you would expect the same thing, right? If, knock on wood, something happens to a Garrett Wilson, a Sauce Gardner, a Breece Hall once again, which, by the way, we didn't hear any of this about Breece Hall last year. Granted, he's on a rookie contract, so everything's on a much lower scale, but still, I don't know, some food for thought, something to think about. What I did see is that there's about 65% of the league's players that are covered under this policy. So I believe this is something that's getting looked at as something that the all 32 franchises will implement as a whole. Maybe that's kind of what the Jets are waiting for at some point. But right now, majority is ruling. So it would only make sense. It helps out the teams more than anything to do with the players, from my understanding. Helps them, funnel some money back into their pockets, or at least into their war chest. But interesting tactic, interesting move from the Jets' perspective. And again, for you guys, cap experts at home, I know the high level workings of this, right? And by the way, I think we have somewhere between 6 to 8 million according to Over the Cap and Spotrac. But yeah, if you guys know how that works, feel free to enlighten me and the rest of us as well. But let me know what your guys' thoughts here on this whole situation is. Was this a huge miss by this franchise, or was this something that, I don't know, it's a drop in the bucket. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.